Hey, y'all, welcome back to the Late Night Vision Show. This is episode 5, and I am one of your co hosts, Jason, owner of Outdoor Legacy Gear, and I've got my co host, Hans, from the HansETX YouTube channel with me tonight.
What's going on, Jason? How are you doing, buddy?
Man, I'm doing good. Cannot complain at all.
Well, we got the guys from North Texas Crop Protection coming on later in the show. They're going to be talking about how they got started. They've kind of been blowing up on Instagram, so we've been seeing a bunch of them pictures of them killing hogs. So we're going to find out from them how they got started into thermal hog hunting, why they're doing it, where they're at, and a little bit about a new product called the Boar Collect, which is something that they've got the sole distributorship over here in the United States for this new setup. So we're going to be hearing from them shortly.
Absolutely. I can't wait to talk to those guys. But I tell you, last week's episode, episode 4, was the the hog baiting episode, and that has been our most popular episode yet. And man, the numbers were really good for that. The feedback's been great, and I think it was a really good show. And there's just been a lot of interest in that. I think it's a popular topic.
Well, there's been a lot of people that have been commenting, writing questions about follow-up questions on some of the baiting techniques. We had somebody ask, about the burying the corn. When you bury the corn, do you cover up the hole? Do you leave it open? So there's been a lot of questions about that. I think everybody out there, or a lot of people out there, have their own recipe for what they feel like that works. But everybody's looking for the silver bullet when it comes to baiting. What's going to be the thing that's going to get hogs in quicker or most often. But it just tells you there's a lot of different options out there for you. So there was a lot of good feedback from the show. So we're glad to hear that.
Well, there was, and as we said in that show, that I was going to be coming up and hunting with you, and I got to, so I got to see some of your hunting firsthand, and your baiting and how you do it, and had a lot of fun.
Yeah, so first thing when Jason came down to East Texas, the first thing I did is threw him on the back of a four-wheeler and made him load up some corn, and we went out baiting holes. And I swear it was about 95 degrees, at the end of May, and we were all dying out there. But gave you a chance to go by and look at the Boar Collect system in person, because one of the bait holes I've got one of those pine tar Boar Collect dispensers wrapped on a tree. But you kind of gave me a hard time, Jason, about how deep I dig the holes, because I told everybody on the podcast that I put it about 2 feet deep. But
that was a lie. That was a lie. He does not put it 2 foot deep. And one thing I do want to clear up. HansETX came out to East Texas. For the record, I went northwest to go to him.
True.
So I just want to be clear. I'm about as far east as you get without getting into Louisiana. So
that is true. You're actually further east than I am. So if I went to you, I'd have to say I was going to East Texas. So
yeah, I'm about 20 miles from the river over there to get into Louisiana. So
well, I'm terrified. And Jason came to Ben Wheeler, which is the official wild hog capital of Texas, there's a lot of irony in that statement when you're going to hear our story.
Yeah, there's a little bit of irony, yeah.
But so you were talking about how deep we dig the holes, and you're giving me a hard time because I dig them pretty deep. But I got a picture today of a raccoon in one of my bait holes, and all he was looking up, and all you could see was the top of his head down in one of my bait holes.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. When somebody tells me that they dig a hole that's 2 foot deep, whatever, with post hole diggers, I'm like, okay, whatever. Well, one thing I figured out after being out there about 15 minutes on his place is that he has mostly sand, at least a sandy loam. And when I say clay that I have, I mean it's iron or clay, and so it's hard to drive a T-post most of the year here. And he's out there. He grabs his post hole diggers, throws them down in this hole. He's already got the hole dug. He's been baited. Throws them down there. You got to get on your knees to get a hold of the tops. I mean, it's 3.5 foot deep. I was blown away.
Yeah, and you're right. We do have sandy topsoil. When you get further down, it gets a little bit clay. But man, digging in that clay is like digging in cement. So
it is.
I don't last very long when I hit clay. But you're right. I bury that corn pretty deep, and when I've walked up on hogs, and I've got hogs on camera where they're half of their body is down in a hole. But what better way to sneak up on a hog when all their sensory perceptions being taken advantage of, because their noses, in the bait pile, which is just stinky corn,
Mm-hmm.
and they can't see because their face is down in this hole. But another thing that comes up is you were talking about how there's soured corn and then there's Hans's soured corn.
Gosh, folks, I'm gonna tell y'all how bad this is. It's so bad that when he opened the bucket himself, he winks and he goes, "Gah!" I mean, it's
Yeah.
that bad. I mean,
Yeah.
even Hans can't stand his own recipe.
That bucket of corn had been in the back of my truck for about a week, and I'm going to tell you, I got that night when I was with you, I got it on my hands, and I washed my hands about 3 or 4 times and could still smell it. So that's how bad it is.
It's bad,
and it's so bad. It's so bad that it even, and this is, I've got pictures of it. I can prove it. My sour corn is so bad it even attracts buzzards. So
I've seen those pictures, and I said, "What are they eating? Dead hogs?"
No, it attracts buzzards. So, but yeah, we got a chance to go. We bait. That was the quickest we've ever baited holes because it was blazing hot. We were ready to get inside. So we got all that done, and then I took you. I cannot believe this. I took you to your first T-ball game, a little league T-ball game.
Ever.
I cannot believe that.
And Hans even hit an inside the field home run, but no, it was my first ever. I've got kids. I've got a 3-year-old boy and an 8-year-old daughter, but they don't play any ball sports. So that was my first. I've heard about them, and it was. I'm going to be completely honest. I was amazed at the skill level. How old were those girls?
My daughter, it's 5 and 6-year-olds, so it was their last tournament of the season, and it was kind of a surprise to us, and it kind of worked out where you were here at the same time. So I said, "Come on, let's go. We're going to go watch the T-ball game before we go hunting."
It was fun. I really enjoyed it. I mean, and those girls were good. They had the fundamentals down, so it was a lot of fun. But yeah, Ben Wheeler, Texas. I got to see a T-ball game, and I got to even eat supper with Mrs. Hans. And saw the woman behind the man, and so we had a lot of fun. But then we couldn't wait till dark, and so we got out there, and now I think we mentioned this last week, or I can't remember for sure, but Hans uses cell cameras, and so he's got those on a lot of his, not all, but a lot of his bait piles. So we had those things set up, and we sat in a big field that we were watching, and we were waiting on text from those cell cameras after the sun went down.
Yeah, so we were sitting there. I was so confident. There's this one spot that right after I baited, they pretty much come in right away. And so we baited it, and we sat in the truck and just sat there and waited. And I kept thinking, the where you're trying to guess is, well, if I leave this spot, which always has hogs, and we go somewhere else, then we know we're going to get hogs back on camera at the last spot we just left. So I was just wanting to wait there until we could get a hog. And, so we're sitting in the truck, and we're just kind of talking. We're planning out some shows and some different things that we're doing. Jason gets a call from his wife, and he's on the phone with his wife. Let's just say I had a pocket knife, and I was trying to cut a zip tie off of something, and let's just say it didn't work out too well.
Let me tell how it went from my side. Okay,
Yeah.
So I got my wife on speakerphone. We're sitting in the truck, and we're just shooting the bull, and he gets out of the truck, and I don't think any big deal. I figure he's looking for something, sitting in the truck running. He gets back in, and he's messing around. He's got the dome light on, and I look over there, and this is true. I look at his left hand.
You saw me get out of the truck, so I got out of the truck.
Yeah, and he got back in, and he's sitting there, and he got something on his left hand, and I said, "Do you have a pair of panties on your hand?"
That's true, Stephen. You did say that.
I said, "What is that?" And my wife's thinking, "What in the world are you and Hans doing?" And he goes, "No, it's my undershirt. It's black. I cut my hand." And I'm like, "Okay." So I got off the phone with my wife. So let me just see what's going on over here. Homeboy is bleeding down to his elbow. Both hands are covered in blood. His floorboard. I have no idea how you did this.
Well, let's just say I'm showing it right now, but it's I stabbed my thumb knuckle with that knife, and it is the smallest little cut. I mean, it is an eighth of an inch wide, but it just hit the right spot. And I knew when I did it, I could feel blood just pouring down my hand. And so I had it on both hands, I had it all the way down my arm. I could feel it dripping on the floorboard of my truck. I have it everywhere on the floor. It looked like somebody chopped my hand off.
It did.
But it was just a bad spot. And I did not know this, but I had a paramedic with me in the truck.
No. To be clear, we need to be clear. No, I had many years in the volunteer fire service, but I was not a paramedic. But I did. I was on enough EMS calls and wrecks that I didn't know. So I'm over there. We're cutting shirts up. I'm trying to get this bleeding stopped. And he goes, "Oh, by the way, you gave me a first aid kit one time, and it's in my bag." I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" So we got it out. And this is not a joke. It took Quick Clot, which if you don't know what that is, I think everybody ought to have that in their first aid kit. And it's a clotting agent. And my goodness, we had to use that to get him to stop bleeding. I thought we were going to have to quit hunting, but it finally worked. And after some Band-Aids and some electrical tape,
I got some black electrical tape and wrapped it around. So we're sitting in the truck. We got the medical emergency has been averted. I didn't have to go to the hospital.
Exactly.
I pull out my FLIR breech. So I don't know if people at home, I've been testing out the FLIR breech for about a month. I actually just put up a review video on YouTube. That's HansETX on YouTube, where you can go and check out the FLIR breech review. But I pull out the FLIR breech, and about 150 yards out away from the truck, there's a coyote just standing there. I mean, and he's just standing there looking at us. It's 10 o'clock, maybe 11 o'clock at night. So it's late, it's dark, you can't see nothing.
But the truck's running.
The truck's running. Yeah. We're not being quiet at all because we're sitting there waiting for a bait pile that's several hundred yards away that we're going to walk up on. So Jason pulls out it's a scope that we talked about recently, the brand new Pulsar LRF. And you got a chance to pull that out and play with it.
Yeah, the Pulsar Trail XP50 LRF. They're not available yet. We're still waiting on those, but I do have a demo unit from Pulsar right now, and so I had that thing zeroed, and I jumped out with it, and I said, again, truck's running. We're not set up for coyote hunting,
Jason, when jumped out, left the door open, so the inside dome lights are on. I'm sitting there, I'm lip squeaking, and I was lip squeaking him, and he was running back towards the truck, even though everything was running and the lights were on. I couldn't believe it.
I couldn't either. I just jumped out in a hurry because he said, "Oh, he's fixing to run off." So I thought, I just want to look at him real quick.
Yeah.
So but he did. He started coming in, and I used the LRF. Said he was about 150 yards, I believe, and I was like, should I shoot at him? And it was like all going on way too fast. But we watched him. He did end up turning and running off. But he stayed out there in that field around 250 to 275 yards for a long time. Or I shouldn't say a long time, but a couple of minutes. I haven't watched it yet. I think I got some decent video out of the LRF. But it was really, that showed me right there what that LRF is going to do. Because coyotes, for me, because I just don't do a ton of coyote hunting, they're hard to judge. They're small. They're in that tall grass. And I could absolutely range him, and it was very, very helpful. To be honest, the first time I ranged him, and I don't remember now without watching the video back, I think he was 175 yards, whatever he was. Right. He was closer than I thought he was. I thought he was further than that, and I went, "Oh man, we may get a chance at this thing" when he started coming to us. So anyway, it was really neat.
Yeah. So that was neat. We would love to have got taken a shot at him, but it was even cool for you to get a chance to test out the LRF. And really, Jason could have lobbed out a shot out there, and it would have been a tough shot. But I really wanted to wait to see if we were going to get some hogs. So I knew if you shot, that was going to probably ruin our hog hunt for the rest of the night. So it was a good thing that you kind of held off, because that would have been a tough shot. But so we get back in the truck. We finally get a hog on camera, Jason. There's one down at the very bottom. We had to walk several hundred yards to get back in.
Hang on. No. You're leaving out an important part of this. We left.
That's true.
We decided to leave to go over and go walk some fields out on another property. And we said, as soon as we leave, we're going to get a picture. We know it.
That's true.
We left. We got over there, got out of the truck, walked 100 yards, and we got a picture of a hog.
That's right.
That's why we had
right.
to go back.
So we ran. We had to go back to the other property. We had a hog on camera. Now I've shot hogs at this spot before, but it is not an easy place to shoot hogs, and the reason is you've got to walk several hundred yards. You walk through an open field, and then you go through a trail through the woods. And as soon as this trail opens up, that hog is right there, probably about 40 yards on the tree line. But when you walk out on that trail, you have to be ready to take a shot really quick. So we got to the end of that trail, and it's Jason and I together, and we've got all, we're packed up like like mules. We've got so much stuff. So as soon as I come out on the end of that trail, I look down that tree line, and he's looking right at us.
Mm-hmm.
And so I knew it was going to be tough. We got out a little bit, but by the time we got out there, he had already spooked and ran off, and we didn't really get a chance to get it.
It was a comedy of errors. It was
this is the whole point of us telling you this is, as we all know, not every hunt is a successful hunt. But we had a great time together. We got a chance to look at a lot of different toys. You and I tested out a lot of different scopes.
We did.
We got a lot, chance to look through a lot of different things. And like I told you was going to happen, I said, when Jason goes home, the next night I'm going to be covered up with hogs. And the night after you left, I shot a hog. I had hogs on camera. The second night after you were gone, shot another hog. I sent you pictures of tons of hogs on camera, and it just didn't. It wasn't our night, but that's okay because
he's rubbing it in. He's just rubbing it in.
But that's okay because Jason and I are going to be hunting a lot together in the future and coming up. So we're going to be. I hope for you and I to be doing a hunt. Going to some other places. We've got several invites of people wanting us to come hunt with them, so we're going to be doing that. But yeah, it was a great time.
It was a great time, and one thing that I also want to point out that our hunting is very different than what a lot of other people do, and I think Hans and I we hunt. Again, we're both East Texas. His terrain is different than mine, but it's still very similar, and it's. What I realized hunting with him is that, it's not just me that has to do the amount of walking. And I think a lot of people just don't understand. And hey, look, maybe these guys that are still here in East Texas or in places like us have access to, big fields that they can just hunt those fields. But, where your corn piles are and where we were walking, we walked a long ways through woods that opens up into pastures, and we would go, scan those pastures, look at bait piles. Some of the pastures didn't have bait piles. We were just looking, seeing deer or whatever. But we did a lot of walking, and it really is why guys like us have got to think about every single thing that we put in our pocket. The weight of our rifle, if we've got a bag, what we're taking with us, because I'm telling you, we were on some hikes for a long time.
Right, and we've got some open fields, but to get to those open fields, you got to go through a lot of woods. So right. It is a lot different hunting where we hunt than some other people in other parts of the state, where even where they're getting to ride county roads and look at 1,000 acres of flat land. So. I ate a lot of spider webs that night with you out here.
And I'm going to tell y'all something else. If you listen to episode 4, we joked about this. We talked about the snake thing. And I want to say that I'm very disappointed. Well, I'm happy because we didn't see any snakes. So that was good. But I am disappointed because Hans has the flashlight, and it's a green tinted flashlight. And so I didn't figure that he wanted me walking around with my headlamp on. So I toughed it up, didn't turn the light on. And this guy just takes off and leaves me. And so, he would be 20 yards ahead of me. And I'm back here in the dark, stumbling around while, he's stirring up all the snakes. So I don't know.
I was being a good friend. I was kicking them out of the way for you by the time you got there. So
well, no, we had a great time. And it was really fun coming out. Thanks for having me out. Can't wait to get you down here and us meet up again.
Right. Well, I can't wait to do it either. But hey, right up next, we've got Rob from the North Texas Crop Protection. He's going to come on after the break, and he's going to talk about, again, his experiences up there, his hog hunting, and the new Boar Collect hog baiting system. So come back right after the break, and we'll give a shout, and we'll take a shot with him, and you'll get to hear us again wrap it up.
Hey, y'all, welcome back from the break. And we are very excited about this next segment that we've got for the Late Night Vision show. We have got North Texas Crop Protection with us tonight, and Robert is with us. Robert, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you great.
Awesome. Hey, thanks for coming on the show.
No problem. Glad to be here.
Great.
Well, I'm gonna jump in here and ask, because first of all, thank you, Rob at North Texas Crop Protection sent me a shirt. And I'm going to tell you, I've got a bunch of shirts, Rob, and my wife hates most of them, but but she loves this shirt, and she said that I'm allowed to wear it to town. So I actually wore it to dinner tonight.
Awesome.
So
Nice.
first of all, hey, tell us. I saw a lot of your stuff, you guys out there, and you're killing a bunch of hogs. Every picture I see is almost like a truckload of hogs that you're hauling off, stopping for burritos or something. You got a truck full of hogs. But tell us, first of all, where you're hunting at specifically, how you got started in it, and kind of helping some of these landowners get rid of some of these hogs and cows.
Yeah, definitely. So we are actually north of Dallas and Fort Worth, in Cook and Denton County. So that's kind of the area we're hunting, and we're just like you see on our Instagram page. We're out there. We're hunting for farmers specifically, over crop fields. We're not doing any baiting. Just trying to get rid of these hogs for these farmers. We kind of got started into it. Me and my partner Zach, he's the local kid around there, and just knew a bunch of farmers, and they were having issues. Guys were, nothing against hog doggers, but guys were running dogs and just weren't getting the job done. I stumbled upon a pulsar thermal about a year and a half ago, and showed it to Zach, and it was a game changer. So we went out and got on a group of hogs for this one farmer and stacked up a few for him, and word of mouth, one farmer started talking to another, and that's how we've gotten all our rights to any of the properties we have now.
That's great. Now, one question that always pops up in my mind with seeing all the pictures of hogs that you have: how often do y'all hunt?
It just depends. I mean, if it's real bad and we've got farmers calling us, we may go out a couple of times a week. I mean, during the week, we've got some late nights where we got to work the next day and we're out till 3 a.m. We try to do it on the weekends if we can, but it just depends on the crop. They're cutting wheat right now. When the milo's up, it just depends. But some weeks we could go out 4 times. Some weeks we could go out once or twice. It just depends, and they're usually long nights because we got a lot of property to check.
Oh, that's something. Well,
because we do a lot of spot and stock, so we'll drive multiple fields. It's not us just sitting in one field.
How many acres? We see all these hogs you got piled up. How many acres do y'all have access to kill all those hogs? Just give me some big number. Throw something out.
Man, honestly, thousands.
Yeah.
We've got a couple ranches that are thousands of acres on their own, and I can think of, 20 spots that we have that are hundreds of acres each. So,
sure.
We don't really ask the guys, but I know, we've got we got miles to cover each night. We don't just have like 1 or 2 fields.
So you're riding county roads, you're riding roads.
Back roads, county roads to get into these fields. We're driving through pastures to get to the other side of pasture. It's us riding Polaris Ranger all night, scanning and trying to sneak up on them.
Right. So what thermal scopes are you using as far as your on your rifles, and if you're using a spotting scope, what are you using right now?
So right now I've got the Pulsar Trail XP38. I started out with an Apex unit and quickly upgraded to the Trail XP38. Zach's using an ATN Thor, which I think he's working on getting a newer model actually. And I just got a FLIR Breach last week, so that's going to be our little handheld for now. But same stuff everybody else is rolling with, really. Pulsar is the way to go. FLIR's coming out with some great stuff like y'all been talking about. So
right.
Absolutely.
Same stuff.
Well, look, we really want to talk to you about this new product that y'all have brought to the U.S. that some people have probably heard of. Some people may have heard of it and don't know what it is, but it's called the Boar Collect. And I was
Right.
hunting with Hans last week or this week, and was actually able to see a unit that he's got of y'all's that he's testing and demoing, and I got to play with it a little bit. Looks really neat. I still don't know that much about it, so I want you to go ahead and just tell us what this unit is, where it was designed, where it came from, and just tell us something about it.
All right. So the unit is from Norway. There's a couple guys in Norway. Pork Picker's one of them. He's on Instagram, and then the Boar Collect Instagram page. They reached out to me. They saw we were killing hogs, and just hey, how do we get this unit for you to test? Look what it's doing over here. And I looked at their page, and all their followers. There's a lot of guys in Europe using this thing, and it's basically a liquid tar dispenser. Here in the States, hogs will rub on telephone poles because it has creosote on it. They'll also rub on trees. They try to get bugs off of them, scratch and itch type stuff. But it's the same concept, just with a tar-based liquid. And they don't really bait over there. They're just using this and pulling hogs in. So kind of had him send me a demo, set it up. It started working, and so I kind of brokered a deal with them to be the distributor. If they wanted to send me some more, I'd pay for them and get them over here. So we did the whole customs thing, and that was a learning experience.
Wow,
so
Yeah,
we got an initial shipment over here, and we're just trying to spread the word right now. I know it's kind of new to some people, but the big draw to me with this thing is it's not baiting. It's nothing that they're eating. It's a liquid-based attractant. I'm using straight pine tar. I think that's what I told Hans to use as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Exactly.
It's 100% pine tar, just like you'd put on a baseball bat. And I've got hogs rubbing a tree. There's no corn in the area. It's just a hay field. So it's pulling them in. But you can also use any liquid in this thing. They got the pig oil. You can go to Cabela's and get any hog attractant you want off the shelf. If it's liquid, you can put it in this thing and pull in hogs, or whatever. You could put a deer attractant in it and pull in deer. So my thing is what works for one person might not work for another. So you kind of probably just have to test what works in your area, for your hogs. But we're seeing great success here, in a short period of time just with pine tar.
Well, I'm going to ask you a hard question, and
all right.
And it's just like everybody asked me, what's the battery life on this particular thermal? But if I fill it up with something, let's say the pine tar, is there any idea of how long, if we fill it would last, what have you? I just curious.
For the battery, or for
both, but the battery and
the liquid.
The liquid. Let's say you put the pine tar in.
Right.
I mean, how long is it going to last?
So it's probably it goes up. I've got mine set to go off once a day for 2 seconds.
Okay.
It uses I'm using a 6-volt battery. You can use a 12-volt battery to get a higher pump pressure, but I'm using a 6-volt battery. I've had it up for a month now, and it's still pumping strong. Okay. I was told that by the guys in Norway that if I set it to pump for 10 seconds once a day, it'll last 10 weeks on one reservoir, which I think is 32 ounces maybe.
Wow.
So that's a pretty good set it and forget it. You fill up a corn feeder at your deer lease that's 2.5 hours away. It might last you a couple weeks depending on how long you're spinning it. This thing, to me, it's more supplemental. You could put your deer feeder up, you could spin your corn, but if you run out of corn, you'd still have this thing pumping for up to 10 weeks that would, potentially bring hogs in and keep them in the area without having to have an actual food source.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
that's
I think
a big
that's
deal.
another benefit.
Yeah, I was just going to say that's a big deal for me sometimes is I have holes baited up. Sometimes I even have feeders that, essentially for the deer, but the hogs are the ones hitting it, and the feeder runs out, or I've got a hole and it's gone. And, you get those pictures of the hogs cruising by and there's nothing there, and then they just disappear.
Right.
So that's pretty cool.
I think it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, Rob, one of the things that when I before I even saw Boar Collect, I was looking for creosote because of all the rub marks on the side of the telephone poles. I was looking to buy it. I couldn't find it where you could buy it anywhere. So when
I called the EPA and they said that you can't buy it.
Exactly. I was at Home Depot asking for it, and they looked at me like I was crazy. But,
Yeah.
So
I think
that was a funny experience.
Yeah, I think the telephone pole manufacturers are about the only ones that are able to get their hands on that stuff right now.
Yeah.
Well,
And that's mostly where I saw it was on public hunts and stuff. You see a big old easement with power lines and poles, and it's rubbed down.
right. Well, again, thank y'all for sending me one because I'm demoing one right now. I'm testing it out. I've got a camera pointed at it. Jason got a chance to check it out this past week, and we're looking to see some good results with like I've told people, the audience on the last episode. This is overseas. Our hog hunting brothers and sisters. This is all they use. Like Rob said, this is all they use. So let me ask you, Rob. Where can they find the Boar Collect? Where can they go to purchase one if they want to check it out?
So they can purchase one on our website, which is ntxcropprotection.com. We've got a shop on there. It's got all our awesome gear, like the shirt you were talking about as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got them on there. They can contact us through Instagram as well.
Okay.
We're always on Instagram, so they can DM us if they don't understand or know where to go. So we're always available one way or the other.
All right. Well, I'm going to invite everybody to go over and check these guys out. Like they said, I found them on Instagram, NTX Crop Protection on Instagram. You have anything on YouTube right now?
We started out with YouTube, but with all the censorship that's going on, and it just got to be too much. I didn't want to put that much time and effort into it when I can post our kill videos on Instagram just fine.
Exactly. I know. Don't even get me started on what's going on.
Yeah, it's a big concern. I don't even want to talk about
right.
it. Yeah.
Right. Well, check these guys out. Go to the website. Find them on Instagram, NTX Crop Protection. Rob, I enjoyed having you on. Thank you for coming on and talk about what you're doing up in North Texas, all the good work, and also with the Boar Collect. We appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Rob.
All right, guys. So come back to us after the break. We're going to finish up, and we'll get back with y'all here in a little bit.
All right, y'all. Welcome back. Thank you very much for sticking with us, and we hope that you enjoyed this podcast. We hope you enjoyed hearing Hans and I's hunting stories and listening to Rob from North Texas Crop Protection. We appreciate those guys again for being with us tonight. And look, if you want to learn more about the Late Night Vision Show, keep up with us on social media. We are on Instagram. We're on Facebook. We are also on YouTube. You can just search for the Late Night Vision Show. If you have questions, comments, suggestions, you can leave those on any of the social media channels, but you can also email us at thelatenightvisionshow@gmail.com. If you'd like to talk to me about any kind of night vision, thermal optics, I'm always glad to do that. You can find me at outdoorlegacygear.com, or you can give me a call. Call me directly, 877-350-1818. Hans, where can they find you?
Yeah, so you can find me on the biggest place is YouTube. I put out a lot of videos, do it usually once a week, review videos, thermal hog hunting videos. So you can find me when you go to YouTube, just search HansETX. That's HansETX. You can also find me on Instagram at HansETX. And if you want to email me, you can email me at hans@hansetx.com. Pretty easy. So for Jason and I, thank you for joining us again this week. We're going to come back at you next week with another episode of the Late Night Vision Show. Thank y'all, and we'll see you next week.